I talk about stuff. Do you think it's a good idea to group people up into, like, let's say, Jews or black people, white people, stuff like that? Or do you think it's more
Like, do you
worthwhile?
mean segregation?
No, I don't mean like physically separate them. I mean like when you're talking about them. So, like if you talk about most black people or most white people or something like that, do you think that's a helpful thing to do? Or do you think that it's more worthwhile to just talk about people as like a whole? Because I mean, what are the real differences between black people and white people? You know?
This is definitely an interesting take on it. Um, so like, if I were to say all white people, something, 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 do you think I should just say all people instead? Is that what you're asking?
N- uh, Kind of. Yeah, I don't know about all. Like, let's say you're trying to say that most black people are, uh, they like to steal, or most black people like to do something. Um,
So stereotyping about like
Basically
I
a stereotype, yeah. Um, but that thing may be true, right? It is like maybe there is a higher percentage of those types of people that like to do that thing, but do you think it's worthwhile to make that distinction, or do you think it's like, what is the benefit of doing that, right?
I feel making the distinction is more towards wanting to separate people, like, oh, these people do this thing, so let's not like them as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that in like a negative context, but then also you can say something that would help like a minority or help that group as well. Like, should you say that a certain group is smart? Like, should you say that most white people are on average smarter than another? I'm using black and white in a very stereotypical context, but let's say all Asian people are smarter, right? Or most Asian people on average are smarter. Do you think that's a worthwhile, because that's like a positive thing about them, right?
That is true. Um, I feel it's kind of what it would imply. Like, if you were to say, in your from your example, let's say, um, your white friend comes up to you and says, "Oh, I failed this test, but my Asian friend did better." And then you were like, "Well, Asian people are smarter." Like that could be taken like two ways. It could be like, "Oh, well, then yeah, that makes sense. He's just better than me," or, "Oh, he's actually better than me." Like same
Yeah,
wording but different on how they take it.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess you can't really take it from like a single example like that, because just because
Yeah.
your one Asian friend did better than you on something doesn't mean.
Yeah. I guess that's a poor example, but
But
I you have really got this good question.
I had a good example earlier. I can't remember it though, about of like a really good reason to use. Like, let's say it was something about like liberals like to say that. Oh yeah, like using like crime statistics or something, right? Or like more black people get incarcerated, um, on average than white people, and they say that's because of like racial discrimination, right? Or
Yeah.
like, they get busted for more drug crimes or something like that, or commit more murders. So stuff like that is used to help black people, right?
Yeah. Which is definitely good because if you don't bring up the subject, people won't know about it. So, I guess overall, it it can be and probably should be used for more good, but it can be used for bad. But that might be a chance. Like that probably is a risk that we have to take when we
Mm-hmm.
do that. Like we can't protect everybody. There's going to be things that happen and things that are done that will offend people.
Yeah, that's
That
true.
sounds not great, but like we can't please everybody. There is literally no way to make everybody happy.
Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah. I also feel like the reason sometimes you have to make that distinction, like, I feel like in a perfect world where nobody was racist, you would never have to uh, say that you'd never have to group people up as far as race or religion or whatever, because it would be like nobody has a bias against them, right?
Yeah,
But because there are people who say hate black people, you would have to uh, make that distinction so that you can point out to everybody else that that is a problem, right?
yes.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that because like I was like it's kind of hypocritical to say that you shouldn't group people up, but then group them up in a positive light as well. But it also like is a useful tool, I guess, too, right?
Yeah.
I find like a lot of people on the right will say that about, oh, you're actually racist because you're you're grouping them up and saying that they're different, or like they're, you know, you're pointing out the problems in society about them specifically instead of just as society as a whole, right?
Yeah. Which, yeah, it could be looked at that way, but like it doesn't, like, you don't have to point something out as a problem. Like, uh, I don't quite know how I want to word this. But like they could be like, oh, you're just pointing out this flaw among them, but it's like, but this could actually be a good thing if you look at it a different way. Like,
Yep.
for the case again of Asian people being smarter,
Mm-hmm.
people would be like, oh, you're just being mean, but it's like, but if they actually are, that could be useful
Yeah.
for looking for.
Yeah, they say it could be useful, but I know some people like, because if you say that Asian people could be smarter, then that means you're like you're differentiating that there could be an intelligence difference between races, which means that like the data that points out that like black people on average get lower grades or have a lower IQ, uh, then that becomes more valid because it's like, okay, well, you're pointing out that Asian people on average are smarter. Uh, you know, you can also follow that logic through and then get a bad conclusion from a different race, right?
Yes, I agree. Um, I feel like overall, yes, you have to. I feel you have to group people up from time to time because you won't ever solve anything if you don't, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Although, I guess you could say like grouping up as far as race is usually less useful, but grouping up more towards like culture and like location maybe would be more useful because I mean the
that's
color
fair.
color of your skin doesn't really mean much if you're a black guy from Africa or you're a black guy from, you know, Detroit or
Yeah,
from, yeah, sure, Asia, wherever, you know, somewhere that's not Africa.
I guess, yeah, like you were saying, present um present it not as a racial thing, but as a, like, um where,
A cultural thing.
yeah, culture or possibly religion. Though that,
Yeah,
I mean,
that could be too. I mean, like, yeah, you have
um
to think that like ideologies are a lot more important than ideologies and upbringing are a lot more important than your
yeah,
physical characteristics, right?
I was also going to say, like, uh, family wealth. Like, if you were raised in a poor town, you're gonna have a very different uh opinions and choices than people who have more options.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Like,
Trump recently said he was having like a meeting with some Jewish representatives or something like that, and he said that Jews are only in it for themselves, uh, which seems very kind of racist, because in that context, it's like, of course, not all Jews are in it for themselves. But now that you say that, everybody's going to be like, the Jews are only in it for themselves, right? They're going to look at their Jewish friend and be like, oh, you're only in it for yourself. So, like,
Yeah.
saying something like that is really not helpful at all.
Yeah, that I guess a lot of that comes from the amount of power that one wields.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Trump was just a businessman, people probably wouldn't listen to him. But he's the leader of a fairly large country. People are going to listen to him,
Yeah.
whether it's right or wrong.
Mm-hmm. And, like, yeah, maybe there are more Jewish people on average that do care about themselves and do care about money. I mean, I haven't seen the statistics on that, so I'm not going to make any claims about it. But it's like,
Yeah, I've
that's
heard
the
more claims than
stereotype,
I've seen.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen more claims than actual. Though I don't know many Jewish people. I know a few.
Yeah, I know
I
a few
can't
too.
say for certain.
And he also like made the claim that, or not the claim, but he said that, your country, like he said to them, the Jewish country, basically, which he was talking about Israel, right? Which is, these Jews are from America, and he was talking about your country as if it was like America wasn't their country, you know?
Yeah, wanting to separate them from
Exactly.
everybody else.
Which, I mean, I only, like, the Jews that I know do really care about Israel. I don't know if that's like a very common thing among like all Jews. I have no idea. Like, I had a Jewish friend in college, and he was like all about going to Israel and joining the war and all that kind of stuff there, you know. But yeah, I know.
Have that.
Um,
One of the Jewish people I knew joined a multi-level marketing scheme.
oh,
Yeah. I was entertaining to get a message like, "Oh, you should like check out this." No.
yeah, yeah. I'll check it out. Yeah, no, that's a. It's possible you could get rich from a pyramid scheme, but
You got to be one of the people near the start of it, though.
yeah, that's true.
Like, it can't be some big thing already because you're not going to get up to where the higher ups are.
No, that's true. Which it's unlikely you're going to hear about it until it's big anyway, so.
Yeah, so unless you're starting one,
Well,
even then,
yeah.
yeah, I would say that's the Trump example is a time when there shouldn't be a use of um these people from this like this group from this specific country. It's like they come from Jewish isn't necessarily a race, it's more a religion in my opinion.
Well, it's an ethnicity and a religion, right? Like, you can become a Jew. Like, I could become a Jew, right? But I'm not born a Jew.
You're not. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I guess, like, you could separate the religious part of it, but that's not what he was doing, right? He was talking about
Yeah, he was talking about the
the race. Yeah.
the race.